Nope, nope. I'm going to give it a few minutes. It always takes a few minutes, doesn't it, folks?
It does, but mine's not showing you live.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll get started here in just a second. Bear with me, folks. I always give it a few seconds because I've tried to do intros in the past and that gets clipped off. So I always give it a few seconds to get going. Tonight, boy, we've got a lot of you early in today. We had a couple of you very early in today. Uh, we had Ben Scheidegger who was in earlier, and I don't know if Ben's going to make it tonight. Let me get this all straightened out here. All right. Uh, because he's going to see the Pink Floyd movie, you know. And he was saying that the screen is huge. But Ben, if you come in and you see this later, I did want to let you know, as I did a couple of you folks tonight, I went ahead and made you a moderator. All right. So I also made moderators out of, let me see if I can even remember off the top of my head. There was Deuces Wild, of course, Ben Scheidegger. We also had, some of you have already been there already. Who else did I make? Richard Mueller. Sorry, Richard. He was the second one I made tonight. And I don't know if that was it or not. The only time that I can make you a moderator is if you show up early. All right. And then I make an assessment. And as you can tell tonight, you'll see, damn, I wish just the facts. Dan, I wish you had been in earlier because I don't see you as a moderator and you will be a moderator. Try and trip in a little earlier on one of my streams, brother, and I'll make you a moderator as well. Now, the reason we have moderators on the channel, first of all, it's a bit of a promotion. You know, I've recognized you. You've either been long-time supporters of the channel or relatively new supporters of the channel, but have made such an impact. And I also judge you by your comments. You know, everybody you see here, I am one of us. I saw you on a stream earlier today. Was that Rachel's private? Are you on that, or was it another one? Anyway, welcome. But anyway, I do the moderator as an acknowledgement for your not just financial support. That won't get you to be a moderator at all. It goes way beyond that. But when you're already doing the other stuff and you go the extra distance, yeah, it's me trying to get in there and get you guys acknowledged. Now, we have moderators mainly to keep trolling down inappropriate comments, things like that. And I will reiterate what a moderator is on this channel. There are, I think, 3 timeouts that you can give. One is a very quick timeout. It's kind of like use that first if you can. That's just like a, hey, not a good comment, right? And then, you know, you can go further. And by the 3rd strike, unless the 2nd strike is so bad, there is an option to 86,000 second time somebody out, and that's a 24-hour timeout. But that's only for trolls, all right? We never use this against each other. If you have a fellow tribalite out there and they love Kiss and you can't stand them, that's not what it's for, all right? And I know all of you great folks out there already know that. Okay, so, and I also wanted to bring up another early bird that came in, and welcome back, Dan DeLynch. Now, Dan DeLynch was a tribal member before, and I understand, Dan, man, things happen in life and you have to unsubscribe. I've had to do it myself. And, but you're back, and so very welcome back to you, brother. I appreciate your support and your financial support. I also wanted to bring up 2 people who, if you watched my latest video, and we'll be talking a little bit about my latest video as well as a couple of my latest videos tonight, just as a reference, right? There were 2 folks that did not get shout outs for their wonderful super thanks. That was Sancho 0813 and Brandon 1351 and Brandon often gives those kinds of things to us. And what he did is he, I guess, missed the live portion, and both of those people put it in as a rewatchable. All of my streams are rewatchable, and there you can put comments that'll stay there, right? And so by the time they got to the stream, it was already not live, and they gave me two wonderful super thanks. And but it doesn't register when I went down my list in my YouTube Studio Analytics. Those go into another money pile, right? And so I'm so sorry that I missed you, but you're on the list now, and any super thanks or anything we get tonight will be added to that as well. All right. So enough of that nonsense. I think that pretty much covers tribal business. Um, Tonight we're going to be talking about, the title is basically, is Geezer Rock residencies, or are Geezer Rock residencies the wave of the future? But there's a whole lot more to that story than just that kind of title. That was the best thing I could come up with, and I'm still not happy with that title, and especially with everything I want to cover tonight. The title will be lacking. So before we get into that aspect, I did want to mention that in my latest video, I talked about Bad Company and an interview with Simon Kirk where he said that he had been contacted by an insider of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I put this out yesterday. And so Simon's interview came out the day before, right? So I guess he made that statement on Friday. And he said that it would be Monday or Tuesday that it would be announced, right? But that he had been assured that Bad Company is going to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All right, that was the gist of that last video. For the details and everything, I suggest you guys after the stream, or after Voices, I should say, because after I'm done here tonight, I close off sometime after 7, right? I'll try and go as long as I possibly can, and give me at least a few minutes to get over to Royce. So I'm not going to lock us in at 6 o'clock exactly, but babe, keep an eye on the time. I get around 6:10. Just let me know,
Okay.
so that I know where we're at, right? And I can make an assessment at that time. I appreciate it, darling. It's good to have a producer. Okay, so with
Sorry.
you got that out of my lips once, baby. I'm a man. You only get that once a night.
I'm sorry, I was saying hi to somebody.
Okay. Anyway, so in that video, the reason I'm bringing it up tonight is maybe Simon was given that video over in Europe, and he was like almost 24 hours ahead of us. I don't know. But tonight on America's Got a Toilet, they're going to be announcing the induction list. And I double checked that just before coming on, and indeed, that's what they're going to do. All right. And the reason that I wanted to bring this up again is, first of all, after you're done watching Royce in the house, and after you're done watching me tonight, go on over there and see if you can get a replay and see if anything that I'm saying is true. First of all, did Bad Company, because they may be announcing it right this second, did Bad Company get the induction, right? And also, will all the inductions come from the top 7 fan votes? Or is there still hope for those who didn't make the top 7? Now, in that video, I talked about how, yeah, on one hand, I had read articles that stated that it was the top 4 of the fan votes that usually got inducted. And then I read another article that said, no, it's the top 5, right? And then I've read a couple of articles that said, no, it's the top 7. All right. And then I read an article that it's the top 7, but they don't always go with all 7. All right. So why am I bringing up the top 7? Well, the top seven, I went into that video pretty good. I gave you diagrams and I explained in that video that just how powerful the fan vote is. And
Oh, you got it.
beyond fan votes, power of fan votes. I saw that and I want to, of course, pause and acknowledge that. All right. But we're going to talk about how important the fan vote is here before I get on to this next aspect. And I did notice this. Uh, Dan, thank you so much, brother.
Okay.
A $10 super thanks from Just the Facts Man. I'm hoping Dan's going to be on the panel tonight. Dan, it was Dan and Royce that kind of groomed me to a point where I can at least throw a semblance up as a stream. Anything I learned about streaming and everything comes from Dan. Dan's always been supportive of my channel. Way back, man, I was fifth chair when I first joined, and Dan was second chair to Royce, of course, right? And he always treated, him and I would gravitate, and we have slightly different tastes, but I'm always surprised by uh, certain bands that we just, oh yeah, no matter, I think Dan's a little more heavy metal, that yeah, because of his background and the bands he's connected with and everything than I am. Although I love those bands, I'm just not as connected, and I'm probably a little more. I don't know. I would be more open to singer songwriters maybe than Dan, although I don't know that that's true, Dan, because him and I both agree. I remember one night where he just said, we just found out that each of us loved Badfinger, and anybody that loves Badfinger probably doesn't dislike singer songwriters. So, but anyway, thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. So we were getting back to how powerful the vote is, right? Uh, Now, I also brought up in that video that there were over 2.5 million votes cast. And I also brought up in that video that that counts as one ballot. One ballot, 250, 2,551,000 and change, as I recall. Okay, equals one ballot. Now, if that was one ballot out of five, that'd be pretty powerful. That'd at least be, well, they have to acknowledge that fifth of the final decision, right? But it goes beyond that. You see, that's one ballot out of over 1,200 ballots that are given out to artists and music industry bigwigs and music historians. Those are the three official areas that they, gravitate toward. All right, so now think about that. Each one of those people, whether that's Billy Joel typing up a letter, I think Warren Zevon should be included, and we saw Warren Zevon being included. So each one of them are already, or certainly the artists are, and certain producers are so powerful on their own, they can type up a letter and get an induction happening. All right? And there's 1,200 of these monsters. And the 2+ million of you that voted for the results tonight get one out of 1,200 plus. Who knows? 1,200 plus. How do we know that's not 1,299, right? But 1,200 alone, one out of 1,200. Talk about trying to win the lottery by playing it once. What are the odds? Now, I also brought up in that article, or in that video, I should say, that the true power of this whole system for the fans is how they vote, because all those powerful people are, of course, keeping tabs of what the fans who bothered to vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. Okay? They're important. That's why I tell you, when you leave comments on this channel, you never know who is reading your comment, and they do care. They do care. I've had rock stars. I've had, matter of fact, I had a vocal coach from America's Got Talent, in deference to him. Very nice guy who contacted the channel based on one of my videos. I've had an interview with Terry Draper, the drummer and co-writer to the song Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft. So the channel does have a bit of a voice, and it's getting bigger every single month, folks. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. So that's about as much power as your vote is. Whoever of the big wigs you might have influenced, if you were on the if your vote was on the winning team, right? That might nudge their conscience. That's about as much power as you have. The rest of it is you have a 1 in 1,200 vote as to who should be on there. Now, why am I bringing all of this up when I could have just directed you at my video, right? Well, first of all, the video you should watch because I get more views, but also because I go into the details of this. All right. But what does that mean for all the people? And of course, my limitations on stream is I can't just pull up artwork here. But on that video, I have the actual ballot and I have the actual winners versus the ones that didn't get into the top 7, right? But what does that mean? Is it over? I'll give you an example. Mariah Carey did not make the top 7. Is it over for Mariah Carey? Have you thought about that? Did you think, oh boy, she was there last year? Boy, somebody wants her in. I don't think she did as well in the votes as she did this year. This year, she actually, what was she, number 9, as I recall? So she wasn't at the bottom of the heap. She was in the middle third, right? But not in the right half of the middle third. So, in my opinion, because I'm not a Mariah Carey fan, uh, we dodged a bullet, at least in the vote. Okay.
Everybody's telling me there's a crackling coming from the mic.
Is there?
Yeah.
Damn it. Is it horrible, folks, or how bad is it? Because my only option at this point, because I did notice there was some deterioration in the sound quality of my last stream. The further you went on, some of my best lines were messed up. How's it sounding now? Excuse me.
There is a crackling, yeah.
It is scratchy. Okay. I could try one thing and hope that this does not disconnect the stream. If for any reason it does, I will reconnect, folks, because I sure hate to let this go, but I don't want the crackling to continue.
It is pretty crackly.
Are you listening to it, darling?
Yeah, I was hearing it too, yes.
All right, folks. So, first of all, I hope this doesn't disconnect. If it does, I will re engage with a brand new stream within 3 to 5 minutes. It takes me a while to set up and get it going, but here's hoping we don't have to do it. All right. Now, first of all, can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me yet? Hello? Let's make sure I'm connected.
I hear you. Yeah, Brenda said she heard you.
Okay, good. Now, how is the sound quality now, folks? Is it better?
Low
Worse?
volume?
Let's see.
Can you turn up the volume?
Low volume. Okay, let me see if I can fix that. No, I can't. That's interesting. That's very interesting. It Let me make sure I'm connected because if it's low volume, the last time it was that, here we go. How about now, folks? How we doing?
Um,
Crackling still, but the volume should be better. How's everybody thinking about that?
yeah, great. Everybody's saying can still hear
Great.
the crackling,
Can
but
still hear the crackling? Better, but still clipping.
yeah,
That's interesting. I wish there was something I could do here. Yeah, they won't let me actually. That's the
the
weirdest thing.
volume's better, but
I have more
still
control of
crackling.
my volume when I'm a guest over at Royce's than I do on my own stream. And it's mainly because I'm using the actual app on my iPad, the YouTube app, and I go down and I hit live just like you would on a phone or whatever, and that's how I stream. Um, Volume is great though, that's good. And I'll be reviewing this stream today after I'm off Royce tonight, and I may do a test stream in the middle of the week, folks, just to let you know, because uh, on that test stream, I may try another microphone option that's slightly different, that is designed to go into the iPad. As a matter of fact, it is the mic that's all covered up now when I'm not using it, that one of you purchased, right? It's a Yeti mic that I just never wanted to use it because I don't want a mic in front of my face. But I, with these problems that we're experiencing the last couple of streams, I think I want a little because it actually has some volume control to it itself. And so I may just connect that and see what we can do in regard to getting sound better real soon. And I bought that mic. This is back when hardly anybody was given the channel super things. I mean, I'd get like one or two a month. It wasn't something that I was more focused on getting the channel to a level and having the channel worthy of offering an audience something. So I wasn't worried about that. But I was right around the time I was starting to get my bearings, and it was, of course, to the rescue, Storm Cop 55, and gave me a the largest this channel's ever got, and ever, donation, a super thanks. It just blew me away. And I immediately invested, it was enough money that I invested it into that mic. So I always put your super thanks back into the studio. All of this equipment has been purchased or I've owned it for years. But the screen behind me, I purchased that out of an investment purposely for my backdrop back when I was going to create a YouTube studio. So we'll try that. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember where I was when all of this nonsense. Oh, we're talking about. So does that mean Mariah Carey um, is off the table? Well, no, it doesn't. Uh, as a matter of fact, that very system that I explained to you before we ever got going demands that if they still want her in there, and remember that this is the second year in a row that the powers that be, none of the fans, put her on the list. That was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They dumped that list in our lap and we could vote on it, right? And so the fact that she's not in the top seven doesn't mean she can't still get it because the vote, all your millions of votes, counts as one ballot against 1,200. All right. So it'll be very interesting to see because I'm going to tell you the last time I saw an individual in the news talking about being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame so much was Sharon Osbourne Sharon Osbourne, I should say, in interviews concerning how she feels that Ozzy Osbourne needed to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a single artist, no doubt. And he did. I agree with her. But she used all her pull and weight in every single interview. And guess what? He wound up getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame within months of her mouth. And all I've heard from Mariah Carey is interview after interview. I keep track of this. I just can't be bothered to do a video on her, right? I'd much rather do one on Beyonce, Rob.
Oh, you got another super thanks.
Did I? I saw that flash up. My goodness gracious. Okay, so let me get back over here because I'm going back and forth with my notes. Um, all right, White Monkey. All right, excellent channel. As I said in my last um, he's a fellow content creator. I have a softness for fellow content creators. So is Dan, the man. Just the facts. All right. He's a content creator as well. I have a soft spot because I love it when they can back me up. And I'm not talking about this wonderful super thanks, but White Monkey, thank you. And I still say that everybody should feel for you a bit
He
here.
says his super chats should go towards snacks. Everybody get their favorite snacks.
I can hear your voice. I go over. I highly recommend his quirky channel. He, people say, oh, look, the pot calling the kettle black, right? Because I've been known to be a bit quirky, and maybe that's why I like his videos. He's got a snarky attitude sometimes, and I can just hear the snark in that comment, brother. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Every bit helps, man. He just gave us a $2 super thanks. $2 over a course adds up very quick. I was just adding up the $2 from the last stream, and it was like together they were like $17. So you do it all at once, or as one of my viewers once did, he gave us a very large super thanks and credited it to you folks, right? And that was like giving 25 $2 super thanks. So every little bit helps. And I also love your channel, White Monkey. And I think everybody should feel a little sorry for him. Look at his subtitle. The channel no one subs to. Come on. All right. You get on over there and sub this man up. I love his channel. Really do. All right. So I've said that about, okay, we're pretty much off that. So she's still in the running, and the announcement may be going on as we're talking right now. You never know. I know the show started at 5 my time. I started at 5, but it could be at the end. I would imagine it's the culmination of it. The rest of it's just the rest of the malarkey that goes on in that show. Not a fan. Royce, I see you're out there. How you doing, Royce? I haven't got to everybody's comments, and I may be light on that tonight, but I'll do my best. We had a blurb, and I'm not even sure that blurb has been taken care of. I'll know after I review this, and that's going to be hours because I'll be on Royce's excellent channel. Later on tonight, we're going to be talking about, and I just did a video on this, Alice Cooper. No, not Alice Cooper, the man. We're going to be talking about Alice Cooper, the band, the original band, in which all 5 original members are going to be on their new album, and one of them has already passed away. How can that be? All right, it is the first Alice Cooper album in over 50 years. The band, not the man. So when I'm done over here, be sure to hook up with Royce's channel. I'll be on the panel for that as well. All right? Okay, good. Now, the other part is geezer rock and all of that. And I can tell I might have time to cover this. This is kind of the whole thing. It's no secret that I'm not a fan of the rock and roll. I'm not a fan of the rock and roll business these days, and certainly not a fan of the rock and roll concert circuit and how it's run. I've done videos after videos after videos on Live Nation, Ticketmaster. They're part of the problem. The greed of the artists themselves are part of the problem. I've also said that using backing tracks in a live situation is cheating. It's no longer live. It's Memorex. And I've also complained about artists who don't give us new material, or when they do, they give us substandard new material. And that's not something that just happens with like the ancient rockers out there. It happens with artists that are very popular and would be considered in their prime right now. So not just rockers I'm talking about. Um, I just did a video on Beyonce, right? And I think it's titled "Is the Beyonce Bubble Ready to Burst?" And in that video, I was seeing that she was having trouble filling her venues, right? And that her tickets were going for, and this is how long ago did I do that video? About a week ago? Her tickets were going for as low as $35. Guess what they're going for now? And she still can't fill her venues. Now, for the price of a Big Mac meal, you can go see Beyonce for $20. All right. So in that video, I predicted future problems for her. And here we are a week later. And when I was looking up the information for this stream, there it was, further decline. All right. $35 was absolutely phenomenally so cheap. So there is no way you could have seen her for $35 before this. Not even close, right? $20. $20 is what I would pay for a top entertainer back in 1976. I think I paid $22.50 to go see Paul McCartney in Wings in 1976. $20. And Beyonce is a superstar. She's one of the people that I feel has been part of the problem with the same old approach to pop music that I don't like. And does she have a good voice? Yes, she does. Does she have talent in her genre? Yes, she does. I don't like her. Okay, but if you are a fan of hers, fine. That's fine. I'm not. Okay, that just means we disagree. Okay, and I don't think she's half the talent that she puts herself out to be. And I also blamed the fact that here, her new album, the country album, that got all these praises, right? All these praises by critics and friends alike. And I saw it as fake as, and I've said this in a recent stream, as Dolly Parton's Rockstar album. And pretty much everybody saw how fake that was, or there was a strong contingency of us who responded to that album pretty much didn't like Dolly Parton's Rockstar. Now, that wasn't true when her country album came out, the album that shall not be named, because that was getting all the kudos. And from what I understood, it was selling fairly well. And this entire tour of hers is based around that album. And I'm already hearing chit chat out of her camp that everybody's freaking out that it's going to be all country. It's not going to be all country. It's just the title. So I think behind the scenes, they're eliminating a lot of country themes. They're going to rebrand this thing. She has no choice. All right. Plain and simple. She's not the only one. Even astronauts can't fill arenas. Did you know that? Even astronauts can't fill arenas anymore. Kate Perry can't get butts into the seats, which does not surprise me. When I looked her up
Oh, you
and I
got
saw that, we'll get to Kate
that.
Perry here in a minute. Oh, White Monkey comes in, double blast this time. Good Lord! Again, he says my last two concerts were were the Cult, and then I saw John Anderson. I think both shows were like $40 each. Great shows. Yes, and $40 is a fair price. You can get fair prices out there. That's not my point, White Monkey. My point is these two, especially. But oh man, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm looking to see if John's going to be playing in my area anytime soon. I want to see John Anderson so bad. I haven't seen him since early '90s with Yes. What's that?
Um, Doodah Doodah Days record says it's still popping,
Still popping.
crackling.
I'm so sorry, guys. I will try to speak as evenly as possible, and I will spend the next 48 hours trying to correct this for the next one.
Still popping.
Um, it's really too bad. Anyway, as a matter of fact, I did want to get on further. There's nothing I can do about it tonight, but like I said earlier in the stream, I will attempt to fix this. I have a contingency plan that I've been considering for a couple of weeks, but my ear mics were doing fine up until recently, and I have no idea why they're not. I haven't changed brands or these are the same two mics I always use. One I use usually on this show, then put that in to be recharged, and they're identical. Same brand, Beats, and I put the other one in when I go on Royce, right? So I don't know. And we weren't having problems on Royce, but we were on mine. But I will endeavor to correct that. Now, and then we have rock stars that are heading into the dust here. Sammy Hagar has announced that he kind of wants to stop touring. As a matter of fact, his new song, which I still haven't had the time to hear. Sammy Hagar's, I've been a long time fan. Anybody saw any of my early videos, I did nothing but sing Sammy Hagar's praises. And as a musician and an artist, I still sing him highly. But the way he treated Jason Bonham on the last tour has not been the Sammy Hagar that I kind of built up in my head. And on top of that, let me bring down that. Almost can't see my face anymore there. Uh, I um, I think he's been putting too much effort into the whole Van Halen thing anyway. And just be yourself and get out there and tour, make new music.
The noise is okay. It sounds good to him.
Okay, babe.
So, okay.
All right. Well, we're going to do what we can tonight, and I can guarantee you, folks, I will review this. All right. And if there's anything I can do to fix it in post production, if it was worth it, I would. But then I'd have to put it out as a video, and I may look if there's something that comes here that I think everybody should see. I've been known to occasionally do that, but I'm putting out less and less live streams, either from Royce or me, on my regular videos. I'm kind of keeping that as its own thing, and I'm trying to kick up production on that. But anyway, he's been saying that his song is Encore, Thank You, Good Night. And people have been asking, okay, is this a big sayonara? And he says, no, I'm not going to be retiring. All right. But what I would like to do is possibly do a residency. And then on top of all of that, he speaks about the Las Vegas Sphere. So if you're going to talk about, Sammy Hagar, and then he's even mentioning the Las Vegas Sphere, that's when I started taking a look at the Las Vegas Sphere just a little bit closer. And I got to tell you, okay, let me find out. Oh, I see what I did. I slid it over on Safari and I did it in another window. There they are. There's my notes, folks, just like that. Anyway, And I found an interesting article on the Las Vegas Sphere. All right. Now, I've had my criticisms about people who are, especially the older rockers, as they get older, that the Las Vegas Sphere and places like that that offer residencies is almost like putting them out to pasture. You know, Sammy Hagar even said that way I'd have time to write. And I brought that up a million times on this channel. I have never seen any new material come out by performing a residency at the Las Vegas Fair or a residency anywhere else. I think that's wishful thinking on Sammy Hagar's whole wish list. I think it's not going to happen. You're going to be stuck in, especially if you're in Las Vegas. You know, temperatures, you're not going to be out doing a lot of outside things during the day or at night, probably. And on top of that, when temperatures do settle down or whatever, there's too much to do inside. And if you are outside, you're probably playing golf, Sammy, right? The whole town is not set up for a struggling artist to create. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the whole atmosphere is all wrong.
You got another
I saw that. Let me get on over to that.
Yes. Oh, so nice.
Oh, let's see what we've got here. Um, Ben Scheidegger. Thank you, Ben. You did make it. Let me see if he says anything about what he saw. Oh, he is. Okay, because we're talking about you. Were your ears burning? And by the way, did you notice, Ben, that you are now a moderator? I announced that at the beginning of this video. All right, because your comment early, if you get in early, I can do it there. But then how I make a moderator is actually right here on this device, but now I'm using it to stream. And my secondary stream is not set up with my account, so I have no powers while I'm live, right? Okay, unless I want to disrupt and you see me flip off or anything like that. It'd be crazy. So anyway, let me read what he has to say here because we were all curious. Live at Pompeii and IMAX was very immersive. The atmosphere was very similar to a concert. They did a phenomenal job remastering the film, and it's more like the 1971 original to its core. It is legit. Okay, I got to get down and see it. That's all there is to it. I was going to let this one go. I'm very familiar with the film. So I'm probably more familiar with it than your average Pink Floyd film fan is because when it came out, there were two films that I practically lived in the theater every day, kind of snuck in, found a way to see a second, third showing. And one was for Let It Be by the Beatles, and the other film was, I think it was called then Pink Floyd Live. I don't think they called it Live at Pompeii, but in the commercials you would see, Pink Floyd Live in Pompeii. Why they didn't call it Live in Pompeii? For the life of me, especially in the 70s, my God, why wouldn't you call it Live in Pompeii? Pompeii was selling. Pompeii in the 70s was hot and hot with the counterculture too. All kinds of alternative theories about, and things like that were popping out. Aliens from another world created us, and Pompeii was just being uncovered. Oh my God, they should have gone with it. But I saw that film end to end to end so many times. And then when it finally came out, it's one of the films I have back here on my desk. I showed it up on Royce not too long ago on DVD. The one I've got has got the director's cut, which I would suggest only to watch only if you're into seeing alternative versions of different types of artistic approaches. All right. The special effects they used are already heavily dated, and I feel when they came out, they were already dated. I could do some of those special effects on my computer already at home, and I didn't have that, professional. I could have done it probably on my iMac, right? And so it didn't, in my viewpoint, hasn't aged well. But the DVD also came with the original film, not like you saw it, Ben. So I've got to see it, and it is now on my list.
Ben said
All
an
right.
elderly man sat next to him, and he said, after the show, he told him he was grateful to see a young man appreciating Pink Floyd and their music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see. Oh, and Terrence Reardon. Yeah, let's take a few minutes break because I'm just going to cap that off, and I think we're going to make a part two to what I was talking about because I can see with the sound and everything, some of the points I want to make are going to be best served in a better environment. Let's just put it that way. But if I've got a few minutes to cap it off, I will, folks. But this is interesting. Pompeii went, Terrence Reardon said, Pompeii went over my head like a lead balloon in 1985, and then saw it again in 1992 once my Floyd fandom was in Supernova and got amused to death by Roger Waters the same week. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what a perspective will do, right? Uh, Divining Dragon, thank you so much. He says, 76 watching, 57 likes. Remember to like the stream. So very important.
It helps.
It really is. We've already got a bump when we hit 50, but if we can get it up to 100, then that's a second bump at every 50, right? So if you're seeing this stream later, keep that in mind.
It's popping less now.
It's popping less. Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed in other streams is the popping came in and out. It didn't seem to have any there was no method to its madness, right? Let's see. Oh, John Patterson, speaking of documentaries, says the recent Led Zeppelin theatrical documentary has made big numbers for seats sold, something suppressed by the theater chains in North America. I didn't know that numbers were being suppressed on that. But I wouldn't be surprised, John, because I haven't heard anything about them breaking any records. I remember a couple of people even saying, though, was it Royce? Royce, maybe you could tell us because Royce went and saw it. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but that the theater wasn't that full. So I don't know about that. But if it is breaking records, now there's also that was during the IMAX, and then it was released to regular theaters, and maybe that's what you're talking about, and it took it more by storm even then. Or maybe I'm thoroughly wrong, and Royce goes, "No, I barely got in." I don't know. That's my that's how I tend to think of it anyway, folks. That's how I seem to remember it. Uh, let's see. 17 Nussbaum Road. 55 started in early teens, has been bigger and smaller at times. Started in the early. Oh, you're talking to Divining Dragon, Brendan, huh? Okay, good. All right. So that was a continuation. Let's see, I read that one. Ben Schneider, an elderly man who sat next to me, talked to me after the show and told me that he was grateful to see that's what Kimberly just read. A young man appreciating Pink Floyd and their music. Well, you know what, Ben, and when she said that, I was in the middle of something else. That's a good point. Um, there's like, to me, three bands and there's probably 10 or 15 really, but three bands that I've always seen, and it's mainly because I'm such a major fan of them. The Beatles, Led Zeppelin, and Pink Floyd always seem to reinvent a whole new group of 16-year-old enthusiasts every 5 years. It seems almost cyclical. My daughter, who's now 24, when she was in high school, she knew several people who were really big into the Beatles, and she knew a couple of people. I saw that, darling. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. She even knew a couple of people who were into Led Zeppelin. Of course, she is a Led Zeppelin fan. I made sure of that. I raised her right, you know. And she's 25. So at 25, she's a Led Zeppelin fan, right? I have 18-year-old nephews who live with us. They're both twins, identical. And they are into hip hop, rap, things like that, right? But they like Led Zeppelin, right? Certain acts kind of cross musical genres almost, Some acts are so, it's like Michael Jackson became very popular, especially with Thriller. Uh, with the rock set. You know, it wasn't at all unusual to hear, a Michael Jackson song next to a Guns N' Roses song, or anything like that. Right? He had kind of crossed musical barriers. I think he did that a lot. That helped with his first single, and having Eddie Van Halen on it gave him a lot of credibility with your casual rock fans, and he crossed some barriers that way. So good point. Um, okay. Oh, all right. Thanks, John Patterson. This is some more information on Sammy. Sammy is allegedly dreaming about EVH writing new songs with Sammy. Um, he's delusional and will yet find new energy if Alex Van Halen gives him a call. Uh, I don't know exactly what's going on in Sammy's head. He seems to want to be so connected to the Van Halen thing. He screams that it's his love of Eddie, his 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 respect for what they accomplished, and Eddie's gone now, and all of that. But I see it. I don't know. I don't know. There's a reason why these people are all getting together and singing "Kumbaya." you know and I think there's a lot of ego involved, and so you start looking for, in the story, where are the shards of ego, because I'm feeling it, right? And then you hear how Sammy fired Jason Bonham when Jason Bonham's mom took ill, and he had to fly to England to take care of her, swearing he'd be back, right? I hate to put you to inconvenience, but this is my mom. I have to go. Boom, right? And before he can even call the airport and ask for tickets, Sammy Hagar fires his ass, brings on another drummer that he'd rather tour with. Now, if this had been Sammy's band, I guess I wouldn't be as angry with Sammy, although I would still think it's a bit of a black eye for him. It shows bad form at the very least, wouldn't you think? Right? But on top of all of that, Jason Bonham was one of the headliners for that tour. Sammy Hagar was only one of, well, there were three main headliners with a fourth guy there. But, you know, that tour was by their names, right? This wasn't the Sammy Hagar band. And how do you fire a headliner if you're one of the headliners? What extra power did he have? Now, we all know it was probably Sammy's main gig. He's the guy that is centerpiece and everything like that. And that you're going to get additional power just with that alone. Sammy has said in interviews that when he was in the band, it was his band. He made all the decisions, not Eddie. And I believe him, because then when David Lee Roth has talked about his time in the band, he also said, it was my band. I made all the decisions, with Eddie taking, a bit of a back seat. The band was his name. He probably felt, well, I have ultimate power, but evidently, either through laziness uh, or just letting other people having more power in the band, both lead singers have claimed to be the leader of that band, right? But I don't buy that, because neither one of them left on totally good terms, and none of them. It's not just Sammy. Wolfgang won't play with so and so. Alex won't play with such and such. Michael Anthony can't get a gig to save his life, right? Nobody wants to get together and just do. If everybody had the love that they're talking about for Eddie Van Halen, where is all the love? And then you got to start going, well, because if you listen to Sammy talk, he'll name a few things and attitudes by others. But then when you know this story and how he treated Jason Bonham, do you even want to hear his side of the story anymore? He lacks credibility to me. And that's sad because I was a fan from the very first time I saw Montrose live. Never knew they existed. I was just in Winterland one night down, San Francisco. And I was actually there to see another band, and they opened up Montrose. I mean, they blew me away. They were all wearing tennis shoes, which was very unrock and roll. And yet, my whole idea of what was proper rock attire, I'm still in my teens, right, was changed that night because they convinced me tennis shoes could be very rock and roll, right? It was unusual at the time. People were wearing Beatle like boots, or they had graduated to Nunn-Bush leather Italian boots with 2.5-inch heels. The rockers were still wearing fancy leather boots for the most part in those days, if not actual uh, biker boots and everything, right? These guys came out in tennis shoes and blew me away. I went out and bought that Montrose album uh, immediately. And I've replaced that album over the years so many times on vinyl because first of all, I didn't have a great record player probably for the first two or three ones that I, grooved to death. And then by the time I got a decent system, I had to replace it with CD. And then when I got the CD, I got rid of that. Well, I've just started a vinyl collection. I have a small vinyl collection. I got about 120 records. As a matter of fact, I just counted them up. I have 120 albums, I should say. If some of them are triple albums, double albums, but I don't count them by LP. I count them by albums, and I have I have exactly 120 albums. And you want to know what two of those? So you can tell that's still relatively small. I mean, that's big enough to have a nice taste, right, of some great classic rock. 120 albums, man. Think of the albums you could cram in your top 120 list, right? And two of those albums that I had to get because I'm getting the ones I feel like I have to get. And I'm going back to the most important albums in my life. And Montrose and Paper Money are two of those albums. I've got them right now in the other room, right? So they were important to me. Sammy Hager's solo stuff I liked. And as long as I didn't have to buy an album by Van Halen, I certainly didn't turn off their hits with him on board, but I liked Van Halen first go round, even though I think Sammy Hagar is a better singer between David Lee Roth and him. I think he has the better voice. His voice does more for me. But I love, and I've said this many times, and I always say, sophomoric humor approach of David Lee Roth. It makes up for the lack of power and range, although early on, he was still a very decent singer, right? It's just that when you're talking Sammy Hagar, at his best, I haven't been listening close enough to his latest concerts, but when he was at his prime, we're talking about somebody who could give Robert Plant a run for his money. If not quite in range, in power at a high range, and attitude and everything else. So I'm a big fan. But it's just like a lot of people. I'm a big fan of a lot of rock stars I don't care for as people. I don't judge my artists by whether they're good human beings or not. You know, I mean, one of my favorite record producers is, Phil Spector. Uh, and he's a rotten, filthy, or was a rotten, filthy scum of a human being. I didn't like the early tales of him. He was a whack job. If I'd ever met him in real life, first of all, I'd run out the exit because I know he's probably packing. And if I was sure he wasn't, boom, on the floor he went. But I couldn't stand that guy. But that doesn't mean he wasn't one of the most brilliant producers, especially with his techniques at that early of a time when recording techniques and technology were still, I mean, at the time we thought, hey, we had moved mountains. We're now at 33 and the third, no longer at 78. And the vinyl doesn't scratch and it doesn't break if you drop it to the floor like those old, 78s did, and they don't scratch as fast and everything. But a lot of the technology was still really, really basic. And the best of rock and roll came out of that. What's that? 6 o'clock it is. All right, folks, I am so sorry for the sound hauntings and everything. I did want to bring up one thing, kind of wrap up this whole idea of rock residencies. I think it's bad for rock and roll. It puts them in an artificial environment that is not conducive to creativity. And I like my artists to be creative. That's why I'm a fan of them, is because they are artists and I like their art, right? And I'm not, I don't want to just see them doing jukebox continuation performances of their material. And often residencies are exactly that, right? And Sammy Hagar in that interview even said part of the problem with doing residencies is you don't do sound checks, you don't show up early for the because everything's set, right? You show up an hour before while they're turning shit on, and that's it, and you're on. And so a lot of sound checks is where, hey, somebody starts a track from the third album that they've never done live. And they go, yeah, that'd be cool to do tonight. He even said that, right? So that kills spontaneity. I've been screaming at the walls for 3.5 years now that that's exactly what it does. And here is um, Sammy Hagar bearing out exactly what I've been saying for the last 3.5 years. It's not a good place. Yet in the same interview, he talks about that being a place that's conducive for him to write material. Never heard of it happening before, right? And then when we get to the Las Vegas Sphere, that sphere is connected to three different companies, all owned by the same billionaire. It took him $2 billion to erect this thing with over 100 LEDs, this inverted TV, screens on the outside, screens on the left. Here we are stuck in the middle of this thing, right? You know what I'm talking about? And guess what? Except for YouTube, that thing is losing money. And so far has lost $1.25 billion with their first part of 2025 being a loser as well. Now, the reason that they thought this would work was for the following reasons. Well, it'd be like, the ultimate, they bill it as 22nd century technology, which is bullshit. It's just really good 21st century, but salesman, can't trust them. But and it's billed as this thing that's better than anything that a city like New York has to offer, right? And New York does real well with many different venues. So putting this thing in a city with many different venues shouldn't hurt. And uh, and they do real well. And yet the Sphere, except for U2, the band U2, has lost money on every show. That includes the Eagles and anybody else in that new movie designed that they were trying to sell for $120 tickets, a movie that was created to be played in the Sphere for $120, right? Sold so badly that the tickets at last count were $99. Holy shades of Kate Perry. Holy shades of Beyonce. Do you see it all dribbling down? Well, what is Beyonce? What is Katy Perry? Have you seen videos of her? What a clunker of a dance. Oh my God, she's embarrassing. What is the freaking attraction to that thing? Right? Okay, but things are starting to tumble down. This very successful structure that has been ripping us off for a good decade and a half. where we almost have to sell our firstborn to get to a concert we really want to go to. Okay, so that was the gist of what I wanted to talk tonight. And for the 81, wow, we've kept our audience, 81 watching. Wonderful. But think about it. I'm glad you guys hung for this long because things are falling apart. That's why I wanted to inculcate several videos that I had done during the week because I didn't know at the time that I was doing these videos how connected they were to an overarching story. All right. I think I've mentioned 3 videos that I've done and a stream. And with the information I've done here, it all kind of ties it together. And I couldn't have done it without you fine folks. All right, so it's about 6:05. That gives me 25 minutes to magically use the transporter and transport myself to Royce's house because you got to be in the house. Tonight, we're talking about um, Alice Cooper's brand new album. The album cover is wonderful. I want it. I'm gonna get it right, and it looks like a movie poster, and it's called "The Revenge of Alice Cooper," directed by Bob Ezrin, who was their old producer. So they're seeing this as a production. The last time I talked about it, I had not heard the song Black Mamba. I brought this up on my last stream. I've heard it now. Rachel on Rachel's Ghost, I'm one of her Patreons. She was saying that she heard some aging to Alice's vocals. And, I re listened to it and I'm going, I guess if you stretch your imagination, you can hear the aging. But I'm talking about the attitude and delivery and how he chooses to sing. Those lyrics are so freaking original Alice Cooper band a lot sound alike that it is absolutely incredible. And I can't wait to join Royce where we talk about Alice Cooper, the revenge of Alice Cooper. Thank you so much to each and every one of you that gave me a super thanks. You keep this channel going. I'm not kidding you. Channel doesn't make what it used to. A lot of content creators are experiencing that, not just me. So it's not a poor me kind of thing, right? But you guys go the extra distance. But first and foremost, I'll always thank the 81 of you that are watching right now and the hundreds more that will come after and watch this video. You are supporting this channel with a ground assault. It's the views, first of all. If there was nobody seeing this stuff, I wouldn't be doing this. So, first of all, you, and then for you who have given me 79 thumbs up, just a few minutes ago, we had barely passed 50. We are now 21 thumbs up away from getting a second bump for tonight's stream. All right. So I appreciate that. That's going the extra distance. If you watch a commercial, because us content creators, anybody that's got 1,000 or more subscribers, they can become, not everybody, but they can become a YouTube partner. And so we make a portion off of those commercials. You help as well. You actually make money for us. And then for those of you who do this, did we just get another one or what? Nope, that was an older one. Good, good. It just flashed up. My computer's jiggling and I saw yellow, right? But uh, anyway, those are the different ways that you can support this channel. And I appreciate every single one of them. What was it? It was Oberheim who said, I'll have to send you a super thanks later. I meant to read that when I first started this stream. And I told him, and I meant it. It's all good, brother. The main thing is you're here. You're in the chat. This is the most important thing, the realness of this to me, every single time. You guys just make it a little easier for me to continue to do it. All right. Okay. So 6:09, by the time I push that button, it'll be 6:10, 20 minutes away from Royce in the house. Subject, Alice Cooper. Specific subject, The latest Alice Cooper band, the original band's album, is about to come out in July, and it's called The Revenge of Alice Cooper. And it's the first Alice Cooper band album in over 50 years. So join us. All right, folks, this has been a great stream. I almost was having trouble getting up to begin with, and look for a test stream sometime in the next couple of days. If you see me just kind of pop up unannounced, uh, join in and help me make a decision or two as we deal with this sound issue. All right. I'll see you in about 19 minutes from now over on Royce in the House. I'm Michael Noland. The channel is the bottom line. When I stream live, baby, this is the tribal forum where we get to interact real time. I wish I had got a chance to get to more of your comments. I'll be making an extra effort to do that on my next stream. Sometimes it's hard when you only can stream for an hour. But if I don't have a time limit, then I can spend some more time talking to you good folks. All right. See you in 20, folks. And thanks for joining in on tonight's chat. Night.